Chapter 6. The house was wrapped in uneasy silence. The doctor stepped out of Jasim's room, Roma walking beside him, her eyes anxious. "The cut isn't deep," the doctor said gently. "She'll be fine. Her blood pressure is low. No stress, let her rest. She'll wake in few hours." Roma nodded, relief softening her face. Inside, Naima hesitated by the doorway. "Brother, But Jasim raised a hand. "Go rest. We all need it." His voice was flat, the day's weight pressing through every syllable. When the door closed, he finally looked toward the bed. Jannat lay there motionless, still in her bridal dress, the jewels removed by his sisters, her veil folded aside. Just yesterday, this room had been his solitude, for walls echoing only his breath. Now it held another heartbeat. The faint scent of roses lingered in the air. Her hair spilled across the pillow like a shadow around moonlight, her face pale but calm. He told himself to look away, but couldn't. It wasn't fascination. It was disbelief. That such gentleness could survive in a world that had turned so cruel. His eyes were fixed on her, and though he tried to look away, he failed miserably. He couldn't move his gaze. It was as if she had drawn all light toward her. His eyes traced the gentle lines of her face, the curve of her neck, the calm rhythm of her breathing. For a moment, his heart skipped a beat. Then, an unfamiliar feeling stirred inside him, a strange, quiet pride. That girl lying on his bed was his wife. His own. He had no reason to look away or feel hesitant. His gaze softened as it fell on her hands, slender, delicate, too fragile for his rough, strong palms. He feared that even his touch might harm her. She seemed too pure, too breakable for the world he lived in. It was the middle of the night. He sat on the sofa, still watching her. Sleep wouldn't come. It felt pointless to try. Tonight, his eyes had found a different purpose, one they couldn't abandon. Jannat stirred slightly, her lashes fluttering as her eyes opened, unfocused at first, fixed on the ceiling. For a moment, she seemed lost between dream and memory. Then, as realization dawned, her face changed. Shock. Fear. The fragments of everything that had happened came rushing back. Jasim watched her quietly, his gaze following every flicker of emotion that crossed her face. He realized something about her in that moment. Jannat couldn't hide her feelings. She was too transparent, too honest for pretense. She suddenly sat up, glancing around in confusion, then at him. Her hair was loose, cascading down her shoulders. Her dupatta lay forgotten at the edge of the bed. The faint lamplight caught her face, soft, pale, luminous. She looked almost unreal. Jasim felt something shift inside him. He wasn't a man easily moved, yet his eyes refused to look away. There was something about her, something more than beauty. It wasn't just her face or her presence. It was the fragile innocence she carried even in fear. Janet's gaze met his, and her breath caught. The intensity in his eyes, calm yet unreadable, made her skin prickle with awareness. Her cheeks flushed a deep pink. It was the first time in her life she had ever been so close to a man. She had no brothers, no male cousins. Her entire world until now had been girls' schools, her home, and her books. And now, sitting before this man, her husband, with his gaze holding hers so powerfully, she felt something she had never known before, a shiver that ran right beneath her skin. Panicking, she glanced around for her dupatta. Finding it at the corner of the bed, she rushed toward it, wrapping it clumsily around her shoulders. Her eyes stayed downcast, her fingers trembling slightly. Jasim tore his gaze away, clearing his throat, the sound breaking the charged silence between them. He was about to speak, to say something that had weighed on his mind since the wedding. But Jannat, sensing what he was about to say, looked up sharply. Her lips parted, fear flashed in her eyes. She shook her head slightly, as if warning him not to go on. "Listen to me," he began, his voice steady but low. She pressed her palms together nervously. "Please don't say it." But he continued. Before he could finish, she moved, instinctively, impulsively, closing the distance between them. She knelt before him, trembling, and pressed her small hand gently against his lips. "Please," she whispered, eyes shut tight. "Don't say those words. Please don't leave me." The touch froze him. Her innocent hand against his lips, soft, warm, trembling, sent a shock through him that reached places he had long thought numb. Her words, "Don't leave me," hit harder. They twisted something deep inside him, something he hadn't felt in years. He stared at her, utterly still. The room was silent except for the uneven rhythm of their breathing. He forgot to breathe for a moment. His hand rose, almost on its own, to her shoulder, firm yet gentle, as if reassuring her that he meant no harm. He slowly guided her up from the floor and made her sit beside him on the sofa. Realizing what she had done, Jannat drew her hand back quickly, her heartbeat racing. He moved down his hands from her shoulder, comforting her trembling form until found her hand. He held it softly, that same hand that had just touched his lips. Her breath hitched. Her fingers trembled beneath his, caught between fear and something she couldn't name. He didn't let go immediately, not out of intention, but out of a dazed disbelief that something so small, so delicate, could feel this powerful. A sudden knock on the door snapped them both back to reality. Jannat jumped up, startled, her cheeks flushed crimson. Naima's voice came from outside, hesitant.
"Brother?
"Jannat?"
Do you need anything?"
They exchanged a quick, panicked glance. "No," Jasim replied, his tone calm but rough. Naima peeked in briefly, her eyes flicking between them, reading the tension in the air, the flushed faces, the heavy silence. She blinked in confusion. "Jannat, your night dress is in the washroom. You can change if you'd like. And would you both like to have something for dinner?" They both shook their heads. Naima nodded awkwardly and left, quietly closing the door. The silence returned, heavier than before. Jasim cleared his throat, breaking the uneasy silence. His voice was low, almost strained. "I'm sorry for what happened," he said finally. Jannat looked up abruptly, startled. He continued, his gaze fixed somewhere on the floor. "This marriage, I should have spoken to you myself before it happened. I shouldn't have left everything to my sisters. What happened tonight?" He paused, drawing in a breath, these decisions, the nervousness still written all over her face. He didn't want to scare her more, shouldn't be made in haste. "I shouldn't have done this." The room fell silent again for a moment. Then, with a faint sigh, he added quietly, "Take some rest. We'll talk in the morning." She nodded faintly, clutching her dupatta to her chest, and walked toward the washroom. Once inside, she closed the door behind her, pressing a trembling hand over her heart. Her heart wouldn't slow down. It was the first time she had ever touched a man, and that too, there. Her fingers still tingled with the memory. She looked at her hands and shivered, her reflection in the mirror pale and shaken. On the other side of the door, Jasim sat in silence. For him, too, it was an unfamiliar feeling, startling even. He wasn't easily affected by touch. He'd spent years around women, his education, his ex-fiancée and bold friend Sahar, who never hesitated to hold his hand or hug him. None of it ever stirred him. But Jannat, her touch was different. There was no intention behind it. No pretense. Just pure, frightened innocence. He raised a hand to his lips. The warmth of her touch still lingered there. Her words echoed in his mind. "Don't leave me." And for the first time in years, Jasim Khan, the man who had learned to live without emotion, felt his guarded heart tremble. Subscribe for the next update.